Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, I want you to picture this. You're walking into your next board meeting. The coffee's poured, and there's this massive, heavy stack of management papers sitting right in front of you. But here is the urgent, high-stakes reality of modern corporate governance. Your responsibility as a director today extends way beyond just showing up and nodding along to management presentations. The boardroom? It's no longer just a prestigious club. It is a highly complex environment where strategic performance, risk, and long-term value violently collide. And honestly, if you don't know exactly what you're looking for in that room, you aren't just being ineffective, you are incredibly vulnerable.
So, seriously, I want you to ask yourself, are your board decisions ready for regulatory scrutiny? Because the modern boardroom is practically a minefield. The days of hiding behind collective board anonymity? Those are completely over. Today, your personal accountability is firmly on the line. When people go sideways, regulators, shareholders, and the media, they don't just blame some faceless entity called the company. No, they look directly at the directors who actually signed off on those decisions. If you can't confidently say that your decisions would survive a hostile audit, you are operating with a profound, almost dangerous level of personal risk.
All right, let's get into Section 1, the high-stakes boardroom.
Okay, let's really dive into this because we're transitioning into a reality where you are expected to be the ultimate steward of organizational value. The twin pillars of this personal accountability are simple. You must exercise independent judgment, and you must challenge management constructively. Now, sure, that sounds straightforward in theory, but in practice, the cognitive load is absolutely immense. Winging it in today's governance climate is literally impossible. Without a highly structured approach to analyzing those board papers and management proposals we talked about, you are completely exposed to severe stakeholder scrutiny. If you're just, trusting your gut or relying strictly on whatever the CEO tells you, you are basically failing your fiduciary duty of care.
And there's a critical distinction we have to make here. Operational management, that's all about tactics. It's the daily grind, doing the actual work. Strategic board oversight, on the other hand, is about governing, questioning, and steering the ship. As a director, if you accidentally cross that invisible line and dip your toes into operations, you create total management paralysis. But if you stay too far removed, you're going to miss critical risks. Finding that exact sweet spot where you are governing without managing is a learned skill. It's not innate, and if you don't master this balance, you completely fail your primary duties.
Let's move on to Section 2, your dangerous blind spots.
Now, what's really terrifying here are the fatal knowledge gaps that most directors don't even realize they have until it's entirely too late. We're talking about hidden assumptions buried way deep on page 40 of a board paper. Wildly optimistic management projections that completely defy market reality, escaping liquidity, and these hidden contingent liabilities that just creep up. These are the exact strategic and financial blind spots we extensively cover in Module 6 of our Strategic Board Leadership Program. Listen, these aren't just minor accounting errors. These are the precise failures that routinely ruin entire organizations and end directors' careers overnight. If you don't know how to spot these instantly, you are at a massive disadvantage.
Here's a classic example that trips people up all the time. Profitability versus cash flow. Did you know that a highly profitable company can still go bankrupt and face severe financial stress? I mean, it happens all the time. Profit is just an accounting gain. Cash flow is actual breathing liquidity. And this distinction is a huge blind spot for non-finance directors. If you sit on a board and just wave away liquidity warnings, gearing issues, or escalating costs simply because you say, well, I'm not the finance person, you are severely gambling with your career.
Which naturally leads us to one of the most perilous concepts in all of corporate governance: information asymmetry. It is exactly what it sounds like, the dangerous gap in knowledge between what management actually knows and what the board is told. Think about it. Management lives and breathes this business every single day. You might only see it a few days a month. If you lack the tools to aggressively test the quality of the information management is feeding you, you are practically flying blind during major corporate decisions. You're just taking their word for it, which, as we established, is the exact opposite of independent judgment.
So how do we fix this? That brings us to Section 3, the strategic leadership solution.
So the crucial point is, this is exactly where we bridge that dangerous gap. Our Strategic Board Leadership Program equips you with an incredibly rigorous framework. It goes like this: purpose, evidence, risk, alternatives, and accountability. When you join the program, you don't just learn about this, you master this exact step-by-step approach. It trains you on how the most effective directors think, how they question, and how they evaluate. This is not just about making slightly better decisions, it's an executive survival mechanism. It's about systematically protecting your reputation, discharging your governance responsibilities, and actually driving sustainable value. You'll learn to push every single proposal through this exact lens.
Let's look at Section 4, 2 days of high-impact learning. Let's see how this builds, because across 2 really intensive days, we take potentially vulnerable managers and transform them into bulletproof directors. On day 1, we pour the concrete. We solidify your foundation, the governance environment, your personal fiduciary duties, and exactly how a seasoned director reads a board paper to spot red flags instantly. Then on day 2, we elevate your judgment. We tackle strategy, financial literacy specifically geared for non-finance directors, and high-quality boardroom practice. This isn't fluffy theory. This is tangible, highly valuable knowledge designed to fundamentally change how you carry yourself in your very next meeting.
And a critical part of that second day focuses on essential assurance mechanisms. How does a board actually handle enterprise risk? How are you supposed to properly leverage your internal and external audits? What about whistleblowing controls or the organizational culture? I cannot stress this enough. Understanding these mechanisms is the absolute only way to manage crisis governance. When a major issue emerges, and let's be real, they always do at some point, these are the specific levers you must pull to ensure true organizational integrity, and frankly, to protect yourself from devastating negligence claims.
And we don't just fill your head with concepts and send you on your way. When you complete the program, you walk away with a highly tangible deliverable, the Director's Boardroom Checklist. This is our proprietary physical checklist that covers strategic alignment, financial implications, risk, and conflict considerations. It gives you the exact, hard-hitting questions that simply must be resolved before any board decision is ever made. It basically becomes your personal, pocket-sized cheat sheet for boardroom survival.
But there is a catch. Before you get to take that checklist home, you have to prove to us that you can actually use it. Enter the Capstone Simulation. This is how we prove that our program isn't just you sitting there listening to a lecture. You will be fully immersed in a realistic board scenario, evaluating a high-value strategic proposal, and you're going to be forced to challenge your peers and defend your decisions out loud. It's a highly practical, high-pressure environment. You get to truly test your judgment and benchmark yourself against other senior officers way before you ever have to face a real-world regulator.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, the cost of missing out.
I really need you to think carefully about the severe professional disadvantages of ignoring this framework, because this quote right here brilliantly illustrates the reality of the situation. The ultimate duty of a director is to make decisions that can withstand regulatory, shareholder, and stakeholder scrutiny. The immense legal, financial, and ethical weight resting right there on your shoulders. It's undeniable. If you lack the specific, trained ability to separate hard facts from optimistic projections, or if you just don't know how to ask the hard questions without crossing into operational management, you are taking an unnecessary and potentially catastrophic risk with your entire career.
Which brings us to our final thought today. Can you truly afford to enter your next board meeting without this executive training? Because the knowledge you gain from this program is literally the difference between leading with bulletproof confidence and flying totally blind into a crisis. Missing this leaves you dangerously exposed to the very risks you are hired to manage. So please don't leave your hard-earned reputation up to chance. Secure your seat, master this framework, and become the highly effective strategic director your organization desperately needs.